Module 11, the circulatory system. Blood vessels and the entire circulatory system. We can't end this module without discussing the blood vessels themselves and exactly how they carry blood around the body. Let's first look at the structure of the three vessel types. Veins and arteries are made up of three tunics, or layers: the tunica intima, the tunica media, and the tunica adventitia. The tunica intima is the innermost tunic, touching or being intimate with the blood. It is made up of a layer of simple squamous epithelial tissue, which is called the endothelium, that rests on a basement membrane of connective tissue. That basement membrane is connected to a thicker layer of connective tissue called the lamina propria. And this inner tunic is then wrapped by a layer of elastic fibers called the internal elastic membrane. The middle tunic, or tunic media, is made of smooth muscle wrapped around the vessel, along with a covering of elastic fibers called the external elastic membrane. So two of the tunics are wrapped in an elastic layer. The third tunic is the outermost one, and it is the tunica adventitia. It is made of a layer of connective tissue and blends with the surrounding tissue holding the vessel in that spot. Now the blood vessels have nerves too. They are there to innervate the smooth muscle. And the larger blood vessels have so much tissue that make them up that they need to be supplied by their own blood vessels to feed the cells of all the layers. Thus, the vasa vasorum is the set of blood vessels that supply the walls of the larger blood vessels with oxygen and food. Though both arteries and veins are made up of these three tunics, they differ too. Even though they often both have similar external diameters, arteries have much thicker walls than veins do. That means that arteries have a smaller inner diameter for the blood to flow through. Yet, arteries receive the blood from the heart as it comes with its greatest pressure, so they need to be able to endure that pressure. By the time the blood reaches the veins, its pressure is lessened. Capillaries, on the other hand, are very, very thin. They do not have any tunics, but instead are just made of an endothelium and a basement membrane. This is a good thing, though, because capillaries are the sites where gas and nutrient exchange occurs between the tissues and the blood. If they had tunics, like arteries and veins, materials could not easily pass through them. Capillaries are also small, so small they cannot be seen without a microscope. Now, there are also two other types of blood vessels. Arterioles are the smallest arteries that still have three tunics. They are located between the arteries and the capillaries. Venules are small veins that do not have three tunics, but instead have only an endothelium, a basement membrane, and a few muscle cells. And like arterioles, venules are found between capillaries and veins. So, in systemic circulation, blood travels out of the heart, through arteries, then arterioles, then capillaries, to venules, veins, and back to the heart. There's a good diagram in your text that details some of the major arteries and veins in the body. You don't have to know them in detail, but it's a good idea to take a look at the diagram to see a bit of the complexity of the circulatory system. But I do want to go over a few things about the diagram. Notice first that the arteries and veins tend to travel along similar pathways. And in some areas, they are even given similar names, such as femoral artery and femoral vein. A few things you cannot identify in the diagram include the fact that there are many more veins in the body than arteries. Additionally, veins tend to be closer to the body surface, while arteries travel deeper into the tissue. There are some deep veins as well, but many are superficial. When blood gets pumped out of the heart, it is under great pressure. It moves through the arteries and pushes through them as they branch out smaller and smaller to the arterioles. They continue to branch until the blood reaches the capillaries. There, the blood releases oxygen and nutrients into the tissue. Waste products are received into the blood by the tissues as well. Now the oxygen-poor blood moves to the venules, which continue to join together into larger and larger vessels, eventually reaching the veins. The blood is pushed through all these vessels due to pressure. That pressure was provided by the muscular push of the heart. Thus, by the time blood makes it through the capillaries and into the venules, it has lost a lot of that pressure, so it needs additional help to make it back to the heart. One way the body helps the blood to flow back through the venules and veins is by the contracting of surrounding skeletal muscles. This motion squeezes the veins so the blood can continue on. Additionally, the veins in your limbs have one-way valves in them that keep the blood from flowing backwards. Thus, any squeeze on the vessels ensures that the blood will travel one direction. When you inhale, you also help blood to flow. As you take in air, your chest cavity expands. This creates a suction on the inferior vena cava, making it increase its diameter. Thus, the pressure inside it decreases and blood moves up into it. The blood then flows into the right side of the heart where it will be pumped into the lungs so it can remove carbon dioxide waste and take in oxygen gas. It then moves back to the left heart where it can be pumped back out into the body once again. And this cycle occurs within about 60 seconds, repeating the journey every minute of every day. If your blood stopped moving to any part of your body, that portion would die within minutes because tissues can only live for about a few minutes before they die. You cannot live without your blood supply. Now, after studying all of the facets of the circulatory system, I hope you truly have an appreciation for its amazing design and its continuous life-giving function in the body.